Hi everyone, Abby here, and welcome back to my channel for Tech Tuesday, or welcome if you're new. Now today, I'm going to be reviewing the new Samsung Galaxy Watch Ultra. I've tested this out for a couple months now, and I'm going to be giving you guys my full opinion on it. And thank you so much to Samsung Canada for lending me this to test out, because y'all know I don't buy big smartwatches, but a lot of you guys have been asking for my opinion on the Ultra here, so I'm happy that I was able to test it out. So I have the Galaxy Watch Ultra here in the color titanium blue. And it does come out in some other color options as well, which you could see on screen. And the current price as of recording for the Galaxy Watch Ultra 2025 edition is $879.99 Canadian and $649.99 American. And that's the prices as of recording, but of course the prices can fluctuate depending on when you're watching the video. And if you do have another smartwatch, Samsung does do trade-in promotions, because you can trade in your old watch and get a credit towards a new one. And all right guys, now I'm gonna go into the major spec highlights about this smartwatch so you can get an idea of what it can do. So the Galaxy Watch Ultra here has a Super AMOLED color display. It has sleep tracking and sleep coach, and you can track dozens of activities. Some things like running, walking, yoga, dance, and more. The smartwatch also has a water rating up to 5 ATM or 50 meters, so you can take it in the pool, in the rain, in the snow with no issues. It does have a built-in speaker and mic. It does have music functionality, so you can download music and stream music on here using different providers. So it has Bluetooth calling if you want to call with your phone. You can set up an LTE plan for this for an extra cost. Use a voice assistant, Bixby, Google, and the new Google Gemini AI assistant. You can also download a bunch of different apps on here. It does track your steps, your calories burned, your active minutes, your floors climbed. You can get your blood pressure on here, your ECG or EKG, and I've gone ahead and listed a bunch more things on screen for you. All right guys, so this is what it looks like on me. And I do have a 7-inch wrist here. So you guys can see it is pretty big, and it takes up like my entire wrist here. Now I've gone ahead and put the wrist sizes on screen that this can fit for you, so you can see if it'll work well for you. Good thing is it does have a lot of holes all throughout, so this can fit a large variety of wrist sizes. Now for me, I definitely do find it too big. If you guys have watched my videos in the past, you know that I prefer small smartwatches. I like my small, cute looking smartwatches. But this could be a benefit for you guys if you are looking for something that's large and if you want to have a larger display as well. Now for me, I do find it too big, but you guys might think it looks just right on me. Some of you might think it's, too big, too small. Really personal preference, depending on what type of watch size that you like. Now with this smartwatch here, it is big, but it's not super heavy. It's not like weighing my wrist down, which is nice, but it's not super lightweight that I just forget I'm wearing it. Like what happens with other smartwatches, like even the Galaxy Watch 8 40mm. After 10-20 minutes or so of wearing that, I really forget it's on my wrist. But this, I constantly do feel the weight, and I do notice that it's on my wrist. Now with this smartwatch here, it does have a band that for one has holes all throughout, and it also has these little ridges everywhere. So these ridges do a really good job at kind of letting the band be less sweaty, because you have these pockets of air kind of between it, and the holes all throughout make the band very airy as well. So this is a great, band if you're gonna be working out in it. Now we do have Samsung's push to release band, which I'm not a huge fan of. I find that sometimes it'll pop right out, other times it gets stuck, so it's really hit or miss. But basically you press the button, you gotta dig your nail in there. If you don't have nails, it might be a bit of an issue. And then to put the band back on, you're just gonna line it up and push it until you hear a click. Something I've noticed about wearing this is that the band stays on really well. So it does have these like kind of double things here, prongs, that keep it in place. And the watch keeper here, while it does move around, it doesn't move easily. So I never have to worry about it moving in place. And that's something that I had to constantly deal with as an issue on the Galaxy Watch Classic. So I do like that the band here is pretty functional and it stays in place. And if you're finding this video helpful so far, please go ahead and smash that like button for me. I'd really appreciate it. So when it comes to the display here, this smartwatch has a Super AMOLED color display where you can see bright, bold, punchy colors. The display looks really detailed. It looks nice. It's contrasting. It's easy to read in my opinion in most lighting situations. It does have a sapphire crystal lens, so it is quite reflective. but the smartwatch does get quite bright, so that really combats the, reflectiveness of the lens material very well. Still pretty readable indoors here, and this is under some bright lighting. And even when it's brought outside, you can read it in the sunlight. You just have to make sure that brightness is pumped up high enough to combat, that reflectivity there that's coming from the lens. That if you are outdoors for long periods of time and you have the brightness pumped up, you're definitely going to notice your battery life draining a lot faster as a result. Now, speaking of battery life, Galaxy Watch Ultra here, 2025 edition, has a quoted battery life up to 60 hours with the optional always on display on, and battery life up to 80 hours with the optional always on display turned off. Now with my usage, I did not get that. Now I do things like GPS walks, runs, setting daily alarms, timers, using the voice assistant, and more. And I've gotten on average 35 to 36 hours of battery life with this watch. And that's with the optional always on display turned off. With the optional always on display turned on, I got around 24 to 25 hours of battery life here. Now, something that I don't really find great, but in terms of Samsung and the rest of their Galaxy watches and the lineup here, this one definitely has seen the longest battery life results by far. That's a little bit of a benefit there if you are comparing them. And these are my, battery life results here. You guys might get something higher or lower depending on your individual usage because we all use our smartwatches differently. So when it comes to activity tracking with the Galaxy Watch Ultra here, it does a really good job and it tracks a huge amount of activities for you. Now I'm gonna show you guys all the activities it can track, just because I know a lot of you guys, you do wonder, what activities can it track when you're getting a smartwatch? So these are some of the highlights, my most used, but you can actually view the entire list here. And I actually really like that it is in alphabetical order because it makes things easier to find. And in my opinion, this really tracks everything. The only thing that I haven't seen and that, one of you guys have pointed out is there's no gardening on here. But if you guys can think of anything else that you don't see on this list, let me know in the comments below because I think this really tracks just about everything. And definitely I think that's the benefit of Samsung is that they track so many activities and a lot of smartwatches are, more limited in what they can track. So when you're actually doing an activity and when you finish, you're gonna get a summary of, everything that you did. So for yoga, it's a bit more basic. You can see the duration, the calories, the heart rate here. But if you do another activity, for example, like if I were to do walking, you can see a bit more information. You can see the duration of the workout, the distance, the steps, my speed, the average speed. I can see my heart rate information. And that's all I could see here, but it was a bit more information than what you could see on the, yoga page. Now this does connect to the GPS pretty quickly. I'd say usually within 5 to 30 seconds or so, depending on where you are. And even right now, as I was indoors, it did connect in about less than 10 seconds, so pretty good here. And the GPS performance has been the best I've seen from Samsung. I haven't seen any dropping at all. Quite accurate in terms of where it is tracking me. Now this does not have built-in maps, but you can see your route afterwards on your phone. If you connect that there, you can see more information. But just to give you guys an example here, at the end of this workout, you would see the distance you've walked, the total time of the workout, the steps, the calories. You'd see your heart rate information, VO2 max, estimated sweat loss. The information you see on the smartwatch is a bit limited, but it does track pretty well in my opinion. I just wish that there was more customization I could do to the data screens when I'm working out. The smartwatch does automatically track your activities. After 10 minutes of activity, it will track it. If I've done walking or if I've done running activities without starting it, the smartwatch will automatically track that. And 10 minutes later, it will say, hey, are you doing an activity? And you can kind of choose if you want to track it or not. I do find that pretty cool. It has worked really well, especially for walking and running in particular. If I've been doing other things, like if I've been cycling or if I've been, lifting weights, it doesn't really track those activities super well. So while it's a nice thing to have in case you forget to track your activities, it's not as accurate as if you were to actually go ahead and start an activity yourself and to pick the correct activity. So something I did want to mention. So when it comes to steps, I do find it spot on for steps. I just do basic things like I'll take 100 steps or 200 steps and I'll count it out. And at the end of that, it has been spot on. That's when I was walking, swinging my arms. If you are walking and you're pushing a shopping cart or you're pushing a stroller, it doesn't track your steps as accurately. That kind of makes sense because you're not swinging your arms, getting that full motion there. It does track some steps, but it's not as accurately there. So something I did want to mention. All right, guys, so now I'm going to talk about women's health. So for my men out there, anyone else who doesn't want to see this, you can go ahead and use my timestamps in the description below. Go to the next section, we're going to be talking about sleep tracking. So the smartwatch does have women's health built in, and they just call it like cycle tracking, really. So with this app here, you will get a predicted period date, predicted ovulation, predicted fertile window. So these could be helpful for you if you are trying to get pregnant or, not to. These are, important dates that you can watch. It'll also tell you when your last period was. Now, when you're on your period, you can go ahead and you can track your flow intensity. So you can say like low, medium, heavy, stuff like that. It also does track your temperature fluctuations, and you can track things daily. So you can go ahead and track any symptoms that you are feeling or noticing. You can track your mood. And there's a decent amount of, options here for mood, which is nice to see. You can track any sexual activity. You can track any mucus. You can, let the watch know if you have any spotting. If you did an ovulation test, you could put that information in here as well. And if you were on your period and the watch didn't pick it up, you can enter that as the date, and then the smartwatch will adjust that and kind of, update data. Sometimes I do need to do that because I don't find the period prediction the most accurate with Samsung. Sometimes it's off by a few days or so. Sometimes it's spot on, sometimes it's off. So I do think it needs more fine tuning, just to be a bit more accurate in that regard. On the phone here, you could see estimated period once again. You could see your cycle date and basically the same information. And when it comes to logging your symptoms, this does not look great. It's also not in alphabetical order, so I'm not sure why they did that. They could have made it look better. I mean, you have the information here. It could be a helpful tool for you. All right, guys, so when it comes to sleep tracking here, I did have a very good sleep last night, and it says excellent, so that's nice to see. It also gives you how long you slept. You can find when you fell asleep, when you woke up, and your actual sleep time here, along with some more information. You can see a little graph of your sleep stages, your movement, and then you can see your sleep stages broken down. So we have time awake, we have REM sleep, light sleep, and deep sleep here. You can see your skin temperature fluctuations, your average heart rate, respiration rate. You can see sleep consistency, any achievements you have. Something that's kind of cool about Samsung is they give you a sleep animal, and they do sleep coaching. So for the sleep coaching, it will give you little tips tailored towards you on things that you could be doing to help you have a better sleep. Waking up around the same time daily, going to bed the same time daily, making sure you're eating breakfast, avoiding naps, and more. Now, just to show you guys how it looks on the phone, so you can see a sleep animal that I was assigned. You can see the same sleep factors we saw on the watch here. And you can actually use the smartwatch if you want to try to detect snoring. If you want to take your blood oxygen saturation during your sleep, you can do that. I personally don't, because it does drain your battery life pretty quick, but it's an option for you. Now here you can see your sleep animal that you are assigned, and it will tell you a bit of information about that. So for a lion, it says lion sleepers usually have a healthy sleep pattern, sleeping at consistent times, and more information there. You can definitely change your animal depending on your sleep habit, and it gives you a bit of a message about all of the different animals here and what they mean. Now, when it comes to the sleep data, pretty good when it comes to giving you like a sleep message and a score. I think that's pretty accurate. This stuff here, I think, is pretty accurate as well. Now, when it comes to sleep stages, I don't think it's the most accurate in my opinion, because I find the time awake is way too low always. I will purposely, move around. I might, get up, grab some water. I was actually on my phone for about like 10 minutes straight, and it didn't really track that here. I think it could be a helpful tool. I actually have found my sleep patterns have been a bit more like regulated, healthy, just by following their sleep coaching information over the last month. But when it comes to the actual metrics, I do think that they need to be improved. All right, guys, so now I'm gonna go over the basics of how to use this smartwatch here. So to turn it on, you can go ahead and tap the display. You can also go ahead and press any of the buttons here. And if you have it on your wrist, you can turn it towards your face and the screen will light up. To get to more of your settings here, you swipe down from the main screen, and there you guys can see optional always on display is turned on. I'm gonna turn that off, but that's an option for you. When you're in the settings here, you can kind of move around and do different things like adjusting the brightness. You can jump more into the settings. You can swipe up and you can see your apps here. Now you can change the view if you're not a big fan of like app circles. You can change it to the list view. where you can kind of see them all like this. And you can go ahead and you can like move things around. If you want to have, you know, this up here, for example, you can move them around to your liking. Now, if I swipe right from the home screen, you could see any notifications you have here. So here, you know, there's a little notification from my sleep, but you could also see if you have a text message or any type of smartphone notifications on here. If I swipe left, you can see all of your widgets here. So here is exercise if I want to start an exercise, sleep, ECG, and you could see a bunch more things. So you can go ahead and customize these to your liking. And if you go ahead and, you know, click on one, it opens it up into a bigger view for you. And you can customize your tiles by, you know, adding different things and taking things away just to your liking here. Now, when you swipe to the left, you can see all of your tiles you have on here. Now you notice the smartwatch does have 3 buttons here. If you press the bottom button here, that's a back button. If you hold it, it's going to open up Samsung Pay or Samsung Wallet, so you can, you know, do contactless payments on the go. If you press the button here, you can set that up for a shortcut. For me, I have that to open up my exercises. And if you press the top button here, it doesn't really do much, but if you hold it, you're going to speak to your voice assistant.
I didn't understand that.
So you can speak to your voice assistant there and, you know, do things like asking for, you know, navigation to a certain place, or asking to respond to a text message, asking the weather, asking the time, kind of do typical voice assistant things there. Now, if you hold the screen, you're going to be able to change your watch faces, and you can go ahead and customize them if you do want to change the data, change the colors, things like that. And that's basically how you use the smartwatch here. I do find it pretty straightforward in terms of, you know, the operation. I do like that every swipe and button press is intentional, and you don't have to kind of memorize different combinations for button presses or anything there. So I think that if this was like your first smartwatch, if you're buying for someone who's not used to them, it's something I think that someone could pick up pretty quickly. All right, guys, so when it comes to the watch faces on the smartwatch, there are a good amount of watch faces that you can choose from. So there's this kind of analog one, and then there's this digital one that you guys have seen me using throughout the video. And something I did want to show you guys is that when you're customizing the watch faces, a lot of the time you can customize the color. Another thing that you can customize is you can customize the fonts on some of the watch faces. You can definitely do that. And you can change accents, colors. You can also change different information of stuff you have here. So if I wanted to, instead of battery life there, you can go ahead and so you can choose an app that you want to have like a shortcut to, or you can choose to have some metrics displayed. So I do find it pretty customizable here, and I think the watch faces, a lot of them look really great. And honestly, watch faces are one of Samsung's biggest strengths. Like, they have some really, really nice looking watch faces. Just gonna show you guys a couple more watch face options. Analog ones and some good digital. And you could go ahead and kind of customize your own with your own, you know, images and stuff if you desire to do that as well. All right, guys, so I have noticed some cons about this smartwatch here. So the first con for me is that I don't find the Galaxy Watch 8 Ultra, you know, 2025 here the most aesthetically pleasing. It's definitely not a pretty smartwatch. It looks very sporty, it looks very rugged, it looks very masculine to me. So it's not the prettiest smartwatch out there for sure. And that's a bit of a con for me because I do like more kind of prettier, more dainty looking smartwatches. But that's just a personal thing. Some of you out there might totally disagree and you might love the look of this smartwatch. Now, another con for me is that battery life is not the best. It totes a battery life up to 80 hours, but I don't get anything close to that. So having a battery life last around, you know, 1 to 2 days for me is not the best. So I wish the battery life was better here, especially with the large size of the smartwatch. Another con for me is I do find the SpO2 metric, or your blood oxygen, I do find it routinely low. Now, typically it'll come up between like 94 and 97%, but my average, my normal is 99 to 100. So even if I'm using like professional blood oxygen sensors, which I don't get the same results I'm getting on the smartwatch. Now, that could be because, you know, obviously smartwatches are not as accurate as professional equipment, but I do find it's routinely too low. And I've tried it on other people as well, and I don't really ever see it hit 100. So this is something that I would take your results with definitely a grain of salt. Another metric for me that has not been the best has been antioxidant index routinely comes up low. Now, that's something that I've also noticed on some other Galaxy watches, but, you know, I'm someone who I do eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, especially ones with antioxidants. licensed as a vegetarian, and this thing routinely is very low. That's a metric, once again, that I don't find the most accurate, so it's something that I definitely do find to be a con. And the last con for me would be that so the Galaxy Watch Ultra here does have a keyboard. Now this keyboard is very small, it's tiny, the keys are close together, and this keyboard I even have it zoomed in a bit so it's a bit larger than the regular size. Now I can see a lot of people who have the Galaxy Watch Ultra here probably gonna have larger hands than I do. A lot of men are gonna be using it, so I have issues typing on it with my hands, so I can see people with larger hands than me having, you know, a harder time dealing with this tiny keyboard. So it's definitely something I did want to mention as a con as well. All right, guys, so considering the price, the quality, the color, the performance, the battery life, the comfort, and everything like that, I would go ahead and give the Galaxy Watch Ultra 2025 here an 8.7 out of 10. And I definitely do give it a thumbs up. So if you guys are looking to pick up the new Samsung Galaxy Watch 8 Ultra here, I've gone ahead and left a link down in the description for you to use. And if there's anything I missed that you want to know, go ahead and drop a comment below. I do read all the comments and I will definitely get back to you. And if you're looking to check out the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic, I've done a full review on that. And I've also done a full review on the Galaxy Watch 8, which you can find both of those linked in the description below. And this is my last video of 2025. I hope you guys have a happy, healthy, blessed new year, and I will see you in 2026. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.